Yes, guys, hello and welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel. And today we are reviewing that game that's just happened at Old Trafford, Tottenham versus Man United. Man United 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2, and we're giving our post-match thoughts. I'm actually feeling quite subdued, but we'll get into things. Got Sam alongside me. Jack might do a little reaction after. But Sam, first thoughts on that match?
Yeah, I mean, first half, it was quite a first half, weren't it? Good to see Mickey van der Ven back, but part of a very confused back line that pretty much gifted Man United both of those goals in the first half. We've had to see as well Timo Werner debut, which is going to be mixed. I know we had our talk earlier on WhatsApp. But I think overall, really, from what I saw from the game, was that our attack was such a best form of defense, because it was, especially in the first half, the comparison was night and day with our attack comparing to our defending, considering that I thought Pedro Porro, who didn't have a good game defensively, was absolutely brilliant with his set piece deliveries, which contributed to Richarlison equaliser.
Absolutely, no, spot on. Agree with you about Pedro Porro. That was a fantastic ball in from the corner, straight onto Richarlison's head. And credit where credit's due, Richarlison leapt for that and actually outjumped Kobe Manu, who, to be fair to him, a little bit inexperienced with marking men maybe, but nevertheless, there was a couple of times where Richarlison was vital in the air, not only for that goal, but actually a goal line clearance, not a goal line clearance, from their corner as well. Did you see that one?
You have to remind me which one that was, because there's...
So they put a corner in and Richarlison headed it away, and it was so important he did do that. Otherwise, there was a Man United player ready to score. But let's talk about after obviously delving in, like you said, to maybe the likes of a Werner, how they played, and the likes of maybe a Johnson, who again frustrated me. But we'll get into things. I wanted to talk about the players returning. You just mentioned Van der Ven, and actually, surprisingly today, I thought our defence wasn't quite up to it in certain situations. McTominay had a chance right at the end where he could have easily made it 3-2, a free header. Dragusin was actually at the back at that point with Romero, and they were both kind of looking at each other like who was meant to be marking him. None of them knew. It was a free header. McTominay probably should have scored, if I'm being honest, Sam. I mean, Van der Ven, thoughts on his performance? He did get cramp at about the 75th, 80th minute and had to go off.
Oh my God, I was shouting not again at the TV. Yeah, we've missed him a lot. And, well, I'm going to be checking O'Keefe's tweets every second of this moment onwards to see any extent of if it's as bad as we think it is or if it's nothing.
No, I think it's cramp. I think it was just cramp. I was worried it was his hamstring, but no, I think it was just cramp.
Yeah, let's hope for all that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was nice to see him back, but as you said, I don't think he looked quite the part. I think individually he was much better than working in a back four, if that makes sense. I think he was just part of the confusion when going back and the build up to those two goals that took place. Not the main culprit per se, but obviously his presence is kind of a part of that responsibility of error that took place.
Mm-hmm.
He also had a little bit of a shocker with Bruno, which again, that could have been another goal gifted for United.
Yeah.
I think overall, though, if we're going by hindsight, I think it would have been better to have started him rather than Dragusin, who, hasn't really experienced the full 90 yet. Don't think it would have been the wise option to do that for Old Trafford. We'll just wait and see the updates. I'm hoping with what you're saying, though, is that is indeed just a cramp and not a hammy.
Yeah. No, 100%. Going on to Romero as well, I thought he had a pretty decent game. Again, he didn't seem like he was sort of backing down to any challenge. He sort of was leading that very high line, and there's a couple of times actually where he got stuck in. I thought he was going to get a booking, a standard booking, but he did well to sort of stay out of the book and stay out of trouble. But I thought maybe with Romero, it was great to have him in terms of a calming presence. Although we've had Emerson, who stepped up recently, and Davies, I thought it was nice to have a recognised centre-back, well, two recognised centre-backs in that back four. And I think it added a bit of stability, and it sort of kept Højlund, who can be a bit of trouble, bit of handful. He's quite a big presence, kept him at bay. I feel like if there was a Davies and an Emerson in there against a Højlund, we could have been in trouble. But there's one thing I wanted to mention before we start talking about Werner, which was, in terms of Porro, I think you're right. He was fantastic with his set-piece deliveries. But defensively in that first half, he switched off for that Man United goal. Rashford was so easily able to just, weave in and out and just get straight through them. And I think Romero was actually a little bit at fault as well there. So I think defensively today, it was a bit of a shame, especially that end of that first half. I came away at halftime thinking, how are we losing this game? I thought we were going to be 2-1 up at halftime, and we found ourselves 2-1 down. And I think Pedro Porro, he was getting forward so much. Defensively, he was at sixes and sevens. He couldn't get back in time. He was letting Rashford have a lot of space down that left channel. And I think the problem with having a Porro in a game like that is there is no defensive sort of reliability there, is there?
I think, yeah, like the main issue really was the space he kept giving Rashford, especially for the second goal. And he just pretty much breezed through everyone in the box. I don't know if maybe it's more of an issue that Porro's doing what Johnson should be doing as a winger, but Porro decides to volunteer himself to go more forward and just use that art of crossing that he has in his boot. Yeah, as I said earlier, attack-wise, defensively, just two polar opposites of terms of quality and standards. I'm not really sure what more can be said on that matter, really, other than, maybe Porro might be better off as a winger. I don't know.
Let's leave that. Let's leave that for another video. That's a whole another can of worms. But I just wanted to get up the stats here. Obviously, Spurs being the side on the right, the away side. We came away with a 1.46 XG here, Sam, against their 0.91. We dominated possession, 64%. Corners, we just seem to have so many corners, 13 to their 8. 21 corners in a game is crazy. We had 6 shots on target to their 2. And 16 goal attempts to their 9. I mean, it wasn't an absolute peppering, but considering we're away at Old Trafford and in recent years we've sort of crumbled there, I feel like we really did dominate them. And if any team deserved to win, it was us. But then, like you said, in hindsight, Man United did have a lot of big opportunities, especially with McTominay and in the first half where Van de Ven did give away the ball. And obviously, we haven't even mentioned it, I don't believe. Udogie hitting the post, nearly scoring an own goal, was another key point. But I just wanted to break down the first half and the second half, because I thought first half, like I said, we should have been really going into the break winning. If you can see here, we had 63% of the ball, 1 XG almost to their 0.25. And I mean, second half, it was a bit more even in terms of the XG, but that's because McTominay is pretty much missed. Well, I don't know how he hasn't hit the target at the end. But they didn't have a shot on target, Man United. I thought they looked very, very, what's the word? Unintimidating. I don't even think that's a word, but they just didn't look as forced. They didn't look their usual threat, Man United, and I think they were there for the taking today, and that's why I'm a little bit subdued, Sam, because I feel like we could have quite easily got a win, but there you go. Our front four wasn't really clicking, was it? And that brings me on to talking about Timo Werner's debut, because obviously he's got an assist, guys. He got an assist for Bentancur's goal straight after half-time. A lovely little ball inside to the box. Bentancur, one touch, bang into the roof of the net. But what did you think of his debut, Sam? Because I know you were messaging me saying he wasn't great. What did you think?
Well, that's the thing, really. At the time when I messaged you, all I saw him do was, well, I'm saying go for goal. It was more going for row Z. And that's the thing that I'm skeptical about Werner. I've seen this before in the Prem. And the fact that he didn't have his first team presence as strong at Leipzig. I forgot the name of the 20-year-old that's beating him to it for first team football. He can't hit. His shooting is poor, and there's no beating around the bush on that. However, like when I sent those messages, though, I could see his runs were actually forcing, a few more corners, which is good. He also squared it to Bentancur to contribute as an assist for Bentancur to slot that into the net. So overall, really, I think, a few good runs, a pivotal assist, but some shocking efforts of a shot on goal. That's to sum up Werner pretty much. So, if we actually use him as a winger, instead of a lone striker like Chelsea did, which I don't think Postecoglou is going to do, in all fairness. Maybe a 6-month deal isn't too bad. But personally, for me, I would not have signed Werner for that deal. Like, I just don't rate the guy. But obviously, he's a Spurs player now. Do have to back him and all that. But I'm not backing away from things that I said about him in the past, because I was seeing a bit of that in terms of the shots that he did at Old Trafford. But, we'll wait and see what his next game's like. Maybe he might be able to prove me wrong. So we'll see.
He did have 2 big chances. One of them went so sky high, and the other one went just wide. It was a dragged shot. He didn't hit it well. So I can understand the frustration with the shooting, but I think in terms of his presence on the left, I'd much rather. I know, technically Johnson's a right winger, but I thought Werner looked better going forward, and I feel like he is going to provide more assists than the likes of a Johnson. But at the same time, you're right. The shooting is a concern, but let's see. It's one game, right? He might come good. He might hit the back of the net and turn to absolute fire like the old Leipzig version of him. So I'm not too concerned yet. But last talking point before we do wrap things up, Sam. Overall, I think you've mentioned it. Are you happy with the draw?
I think we have to be happy with that draw, because we haven't even mentioned about the starting 11, about the shock that Kulusevski wasn't starting. Our only creative player in the middle was Bentancur. That's when you look at the starting lineup, because I thought Højbjerg did all right. I thought Skip made a pivotal contribution to that. And we don't have a complete front three per se. And we got away with 1 point at Old Trafford, which, a point at Old Trafford is a good result, considering United literally kept taking the lead from us. So I think we just have to take this one on the chin and move on. No point.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
About it.
No, I completely agree. I think if you ask me before the game, would I take a draw? Of course I'd take a draw. It's a good result. But on the night, I feel like we were the better team. And if we were a bit more clinical up front, if Johnson, Richarlison, Werner were working better together, I think we would have won. And I think we also lack that creativity today. I think that's key. I think the fact that we had a midfield 3 of Skip, Højbjerg, and Bentancur, and we actually probably dominated the ball. Well, by the stats, we dominated the ball. I think that's incredible. The fact that there's technically 2 6s there and an 8 that have dominated in an Ange system where you require a 6, an 8, and a 10. I think we massively lack that number 10 today, and in a Lo Celso or a Maddison. And I feel like if we had a Maddison in that team today to unlock the paths of the runs from Werner and Brennan Johnson, I think we would have won the game. But it's all in hindsight at the end of the day. Man United could have taken their chances and won the game. So I think a draw is a fair result, but I think as soon as we're getting that first 11 back, Sam, and a bit of squad depth as well, I feel like we're going to be a real force going into the end of this year.
Look, I think we can be positive from this, because, as you just said, we were missing players, and this is the result we got. So imagine if we did have players that weren't injured, like with the likes of James Maddison, for example, and a squad depth of Manor Solomon to come off from the wing and not just Brian Hill. Our bench was so we had 2 keepers on our bench. All right. We were very limited for any options to come off from the bench, and this is the result we got. So
I'm pretty sure we were a man short as well on the bench. So quite incredible, really. But Sam, we'll end things there. Overall, I guess we'll take the point, but I still have that point. I'm feeling a bit subdued, and that just shows the progression of this team and where we can really go. But guys, if you did enjoy that little post-match reaction from myself and Sam, please do smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you are new. Turn post notification bells on, which is also free to do so. And we will see you in the next video. As always, come on, you Spurs!